Lando overdriving?
Yeah, but Naomi, you say it doesn't come as a surprise. Lando was in front before the last run in Q3, right? He was the favorite until that very last moment. And just looking at that lap now, Oscar it's just beautiful. It's just perfect.
It was perfect, but you know what is not perfect? YouTube demonetizing your channel, because apparently I have to put my own narrative. It's not like 90% of YouTube is reused content and tons of channels just post raw interviews of Formula 1. That was rude. That was pretty fucking rude, YouTube. I know many of you want to see the post-show from Sky, and you will see it. But if you don't mind, I will make some comments about it. And since this is fair use, I can even show you what happened in qualifying.
I can't pull away, no problem.
The baguette car had a tiny problem. I mean, look at the traffic. The rest of the grid is stacking up behind it like pissed off drivers in a Parisian traffic jam screaming, "Move, you sexy French fuck up." So Carlos, knowing that the French like to get pissed on, he pissed on the car and left. So top of Q1 was Oscar Piastri, followed by Max Verstappen, and in third was Lando Norris. Also, this is Tsunoda finishing his lap, and I'm sure he will get 5th or 6th.
Can Tsunoda, who's been complaining about the car sliding all weekend long, make it through?
This is embarrassing, or maybe not, I don't know. Is Max that good of a driver that he can be in the front row while his teammates are in 20th? The other surprise was Carlos out in Q1, and for the other drivers is as usual, so I don't care for them. Then these are the drivers to get out in Q2, and the only driver I feel bad for this is Lance Stroll. Relax, I'm joking, no one cares about Lance Stroll.
Piastri trying to take away pole, and he does so!
And after all the talk and speculations all this month for the technical directive about the flexi wings, McLaren comes in Spain and is faster than before the TD. So this is what happened in qualifying. Now we can watch the post-show, and please don't be mad if I interrupt. After all, I'm doing all this for free.
And it's under the highest pressure that he just always delivers the maximum of his potential. And then you see the lap from Lando, and I was watching it live with Crofty, and from turn 1 onwards, just overdoing it, overdriving, and all the way around. In every corner, you saw him go out wide, coming offline a little bit, getting extra snaps, and that just resulted into 2/10 down through the lap. So it really, the qualifying, the pole position was in the head today.
That's true. I heard Nico saying that live. He said Lando is overdriving the car. I don't understand why they don't get Nico for every weekend. He has so much knowledge about F1.
It was right in the head, and unfortunately, as we've a little bit seen over and over from Lando, it's when the pressure is highest, there start to come these little mistakes there, and they creep in, and that happened again today.
Is that a factor? Is that a feature of this track? I mean, if you do try and overdrive it, it is more likely to come back and bite you on the bottom?
I don't know if it's necessarily a feature of the circuit, but you could clearly see there with Lando's driving that he was just causing himself that loss of time by trying to overdo it. And just as Nico's saying, with the mental space that he's in, I think, you know, whilst we thought that he might come here with a little bit more of a confident head on his shoulders, he's still desperate to prove that he's the quicker driver in the team. And I think sometimes when you're too eager to prove it, you just push yourself a little too far in that lap, and that's what he did there. He just overshot the mark in a few corners and unfortunately cost himself that pole position today.
But also, Lando didn't drive like that before.
Previously, yes.
Previously. It was just on that last attempt.
Trying
just
to get
the
that
very
little
last
too much
attempt
out of it.
where the pressure is at its highest, where he suddenly decided to overdrive everywhere, which is a real pity.
But it's his teammate that's putting him in that position, right? So if he didn't feel under the pressure that Oscar's putting him under, he felt he needed to push that much further to get that ultimate lap over him, and it didn't work for him.
Please, though, can I just, before we go to SkyPad, throw it forward to tomorrow, to have them both on the front row of the grid. The first time we've had McLarens here on the front row since Mick Hakkinen and David Coulthard 27 years ago. I want to see it wheel to wheel. I mean, let's go. I don't keep reminding you of 2016, but these two and that car this weekend is obviously, you know, it's not been pegged back by the flexi win stuff. This could be a really important Grand Prix tomorrow, just for the state of the championship, as today was in qualifying.
Yes, Lando is being pushed by his teammate to do this kind of mistakes, but even Max pushed him too, so maybe Lando is a pushover and needs to change his mentality.
Yes, of course, but at the same time, it's so tight in the championship still between the two of them. I still just see it as one more race.
Yeah, but it's wheel to wheel potentially.
Yeah, wheel to wheel. Yeah, I mean that we're all excited about, right? We were looking forward to the first little touch, right? Simon cannot wait. You know, everything had gone perfectly. He was first until that very last run, and then it was interesting there from Anthony. From Ant now, it's just every corner, little mistake, every corner, overdoing it, every corner running out wide on the exit, getting a snap on the exit, throughout the whole lap. I mean, wow. So what does he have to do? From my point of view, work on the mental side. You know, we're all spending hours and hours training our bodies. I don't actually know if Lando has a mental coach. Does he work with a psychologist or not? And he definitely should, because there's so much value in that. I worked with one. It helped me so much just to understand and to figure out a best possible approach, you know, to a race
more
weekend.
so in your championship winning season against
in my championship year, 2 hours every 2 days.
He speaks from experience, so Lando should listen to him because Lando is fast, but he is inferior mentally in compared to Oscar.
Leading up to the season in spring, that was a huge, like, it was more difficult than the actual physical training. It was insanely difficult, and it was just so extremely valuable.
I know George does it. George is big on this, on marginal gains. Everything from sort of blue blocker glasses to block out the light at the end of the day, just to calm him down, ice baths in the morning. He's always looking for these sort of things, and I'm sure plenty of them do, but it'd be interesting to see whether Lando does, because as you said, at the moment it does feel like it's, as Nico says, up in the top 2 inches. With the congrats, because we've been debating it up here. Perfect. First time in 27 years, I believe, McLaren have locked out the front row of the grid here in Barcelona. Okay, so that's another one to tick off. How was it from your perspective? And we've just had a look, Andrea, at the difference between the two drivers and how they approached it. Lando, it seemed, making too many little errors in that last lap.
First of all, it was a very positive qualifying session. Obviously, P1, P2 is the best result we could get. The car was fast throughout the weekend. So once again, I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank the team who have managed to design, construct, race such a competitive car. Barcelona is one of the most important testing ground in terms especially of overall aerodynamic efficiency, I would say. And I think we proved that the McLaren car is very competitive from this point of view. Good laps throughout the qualifying session by both Lando and Oscar. At the end, Oscar, I think he managed to pull off everything that was available in the car. Lando, in a couple of corners, just lost a bit of time in exit in particular. So, but luckily the car was competitive enough to have a decent gap to the third, and this meant that we were P1 and P2. So yeah, positive qualifying session.
I saw this interview with interest, and from the beginning I saw a sign of relief from Andrea Stella. And yes, I'm talking about the technical directive. So let's see some more. Focus on his body language.
I'm sure Nico's going to pick you up on where Lando lost some time there, but I want to ask you a question about, obviously this weekend so far has already been a great start for you guys, and it's quite a statement of where you guys and your performance is going to be, particularly going forward this season. Everyone was hoping this TD was going to come in and slow you guys down. It hasn't done that. And now more than ever, it's clearly going to be between your two drivers. So with all the talk that's out there about who's going to be the #1 driver and whether Lando's got the mental capacity to take on the battle, how are you going to manage that? Because that's clearly going to be between your two drivers, isn't it?
Okay, you touch a few points. Let's start with the TD. I think the TD was a big talking point, quite immaterial, I would say. Like, once Formula One is number, is technical, you know, then we can talk about Formula One forever. But when you look at the numbers associated to the TD, it was always going to be minor. So, yeah, it entertained to have this kind of debate, but in our numbers, in our simulation, it was everything very small. So we weren't concerned from this point of view. In terms of the drivers, you know, Verstappen is there. I wouldn't certainly exclude Verstappen from fighting for the championship. He's Max Verstappen in a Red Bull. So definitely we are not only thinking about a battle between Lando and Oscar. In terms of the battle itself, it's exciting. It's what Zach, myself, have worked very hard for, to be in condition to have a very competitive car with two competitive drivers and make sure at some stage that the championship becomes a matter between the two drivers. So this was always going to be our mission, our objective. I think we approached that with a very strong set of principles within which Lando and Oscar are completely engaged. So we just want to see a great battle, entertaining for F1 fans, for McLaren, and yeah, we look forward to the remainder of the season.
He spoke about numbers, but numbers in Formula 1 are not always right. We have seen that in the past, and we will see that in the future. And now that they are faster after the TD, they are calm and they know it's between Lando and Oscar. I saw the interview of Max after the qualifying on F1 TV, and he knew this year is over.
I'm only allowed one more question, apparently, so the question would be, tomorrow going into the start, Simon is desperate to see some wheel banging between
Not
the
wheel
McLaren.
banging, wheel to wheel, Andrea.
No, you
wheel.
took that much further. Between the McLaren cars. How have you organized that now internally? Is there like a really clear internal paper? If you are a tiny bit ahead, you need to leave space. Is every scenario like really clearly defined, or you're leaving it up to the drivers? What is the approach there for tomorrow into turn one?
Well, you use the right word. It's called approach. We have our racing approach, which is the result of a process that with Lando and Oscar has been going on for months. It's, based on principles, undertakings, and these kind of aspects. But when it comes to racing to your teammate or any other car, in fairness, you can't be too prescriptive, because you can't say, like, if your wheel is one wheel, your car is one wheel ahead, then this happens. We trust our drivers. For us, this is the most important factor. We trust our drivers, and we have great conversations constantly, and I'm sure it's going to be an exciting, fair battle until the end of the championship.
My 2 cents worth, unfortunately, that's a recipe for disaster. To trust the drivers. That's just my little comment at the end there.
You do your job, that's what you have to say. So fair enough, I do my job, that's what I have to say, and what I say to my drivers and to the team.
Well, you're in good shape, Andrea. You've locked out the front row of the grid. First time since 1988, so well done for that, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
I can't unsee the narrative. They are speaking only about Lando and Oscar for the championship. So all I can hope now is for Lando to toughen up and give us a great championship battle. Because we all know Oscar is already tough. I like both drivers for different reasons. So may the best win.
Coming into this weekend, if you were told you'd set exactly the same lap time as him in qualifying, would that have been a surprise?
Not really, no. I mean, we've qualified, other than Monaco, we've been in the top 5 every single race, and obviously Monaco was out of our control. So we know we've got a fast car on Saturday, and we're doing our best to make a fast car on Sunday. From what we've seen so far, this is going to be a really tricky race, similar to Bahrain in the sense of a lot of overheating, 2-stop strategy, and we saw how dominant the McLarens were there. But who knows? And I started P4 last year, made a pretty decent start last year. So if we can replicate that again, it'll be good.
Are you expecting different strategies tomorrow? Are you expecting it to be quite difficult to work out how the race is playing out for a while?
I think there will be different strategies, but all 3 tyres seem relatively similar. And I think if you were to go on the soft tyre as an example versus the hard tyre, the stop lap is probably within 5 laps of one another. It's not like we saw in Imola where the soft tyre could only do 8 laps and the medium tyre could go for 30 laps. We've obviously got the 3 hardest compounds here, so it's a bit of a different ball game. But I'd be really happy tomorrow if we could fight for the podium, because, as I said, we know we're usually slower on Sunday than we are on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
George was pretty fast today, as he is always in Spain. He mentioned last year when he started from P4, and after turn 1, he was in P1. But even if he does that, it wouldn't make any difference, because the McLarens will fly past him, and Max slowly but surely will still pass him. So I think he will finish P4.
Yeah, it depends on temperatures, doesn't it? With Mercedes, what George has been saying a couple of weeks ago when we were at Imola, if it's cold, we're good. If it's warm, we're not. Let's see.
Let's see. Look, it hasn't started very badly for them. I thought he was going to be best of the rest today, possibly. And, I mean, he pretty much was with an identical lap to Max. He obviously said it's second, so that's why he's 4th. But, look, I think they're going to have a good battle behind the McLarens. I think the run to turn 1 here is very long. So I can imagine that George, or even Max, specifically Max, who loves to stick his car in any gap that comes available, could cause an upset between the 2 McLarens at the start that may end up creating some sort of gap. They might even jump them because, you know, they get protected from the wind in that second row. So I wouldn't completely rule them out of creating some chaos tomorrow, but it's going to be tight to see who comes out on top for the rest of them.
Hi, Lewis. Hello. If Friday wasn't fun, how was Saturday?
Was pretty good today. Yeah. Friday started off fun. It's just we had some problem with the floor on P2. So I was losing a lot of downforce, so the balance shifted massively, and it's a bit confusing because we didn't really change anything, and then all of a sudden you have this problem. We fixed it for today, and the car was much more drivable, much more enjoyable, and we really clearly have made an improvement going into qualifying to get into Q3 when it's so close and be in the top 5. I'm really happy with that.
Are you looking forward to your 66 laps around here tomorrow? Have you got a car you can race with?
Yeah, no, I am looking forward to it. I did get a bit of a long run yesterday, so it's definitely going to be close between everybody. And it's amazing how close everybody is in qualifying and how half a tenth can put you from 6th to 11th, and that's pretty mad. The long run is going to be challenging tomorrow for everybody. I think most people have mostly softs and one medium, and Charles and a couple of other people have 2 mediums. Which tyre is the best, which strategy is the best, we will see. But Key's going to be getting a good start. My goal is to try and get a podium. I haven't had a podium for God knows how long, so that's my target tomorrow.
His target is to get a podium. Can he get it? I don't think so, but Lewis seems to get the hang on this Ferrari step by step, and he is more and more confident with the car.
Charles, you didn't go out again in the end of Q3 there. Was that you didn't have tyres left, or what was happening there?
No tyres left. I mean, I think we were one of the only cars to have only 4 new sets of softs for qualifying, for the whole qualifying. All the others around us had 5 new softs. So I already knew that it was going to be difficult, and I wanted to only use 3 softs, which is making our life a lot more difficult. I take responsibility for it because the team had pushed for a different way, but I'm quite happy with my choice. Yes, I sacrificed today. I hope it will pay off tomorrow. If it doesn't, then it's my fault.
When I spoke to you on Thursday, you said the team think we know what to expect from each race now, because Monaco is a bit of a surprise, but you said you think the rest of the races will go as expected. So has this one so far gone as expected, would you say, this weekend?
I think we were pretty strong in free practices, maybe a bit better than what we expected. Unfortunately, when you look at the gap in qualifying, then it's back to the first part of the year, which is too far from what we want, and it's a shame. But yeah, I guess we are back to where we should be.
So tomorrow's race, what can you hope for from tomorrow's race? What would be a good result for you tomorrow?
The podium. I think the race pace is strong, so it all depends how much we are going to overtake. Yeah, we'll see.
George, Lewis, Charles, and Max will fight for a place in the podium. This says it all. The McLarens are uncatchable, and no one doesn't even think to race them.
That they've got a shot at podiums tomorrow, particularly Lewis.
They have seemed to turn things around, because earlier on in the season a Friday was usually better than a Saturday and a Sunday. So now for them it seems like their Sundays are where they do make their comeback, and they don't have the ultimate pace in single lap pace. So we'll see. It sounds like he's put all of his eggs in one basket for tomorrow, and I hope for him that it'll pay off. But I think they have some potential there, especially with the fight with George to take it to him.
No, very clearly. I mean, from the pace yesterday, McLarens were slightly ahead, and then there's Verstappen and Lewis, who are equal right behind. So Lewis was quick, and then unfortunately George was struggling ever so slightly more on that long run. So I think he's going to be up against it a little bit more tomorrow. But Lewis has a great shot at that podium that he's aiming for.
Tiniest of snaps.
Yes. So at this point, at that point, I didn't know if I was going to stay on the track or end up in the gravel, which is what I did 12 months ago. And then the last corner was pretty good. A little bit of movement, which is never the nicest.
Was it flat in the last corner, or you having to back out of it today?
A very small lift. I took it flat in FP1, and I've never been able to do it since. So
why do you think that is? It was quite windy. It was picking up, with these clouds are rolling over now.
A number of things. I had a bigger rear wing in FP1, so that was probably a good factor, and some other bits and pieces as well. So no, it was a good lap overall. Turn 12 could probably do a little bit better, but I will certainly take it. It was good enough.
It was a brilliant pole position lap, and yeah, you left the rest of the field wondering how you found it, especially because grip was so low today. We could all see it and feel what you were going through. So yeah, well described. And what are the thoughts for tomorrow?
Thank you. Yeah, try and keep the lead, obviously. That's the first objective, I think.
You reckon Max might get his nose in there somewhere?
He'll try.
He'll try, won't
No
he?
question he'll try, but let's see. It's a long run to turn one, so it's not just about the launch and then relaxing. You got to have your wits about you into turn one and you know, do a good job there. So let's see what happens, but I'm expecting to have quite a few cars in my mirrors.
Well done again, and best of luck for tomorrow. Back to your time.
He said Max will try on turn 1, but as I said for George, it's the same even for Max because I don't think he has the pace to stay ahead. Also, Oscar doesn't seem too concerned about turn 1, knowing he does have a fast car.
Kimi, that's your first top 10 start since Miami. Does it feel like this has been a turnaround weekend for you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after the 2 difficult weekends, especially qualifying, it was good to kind of get back into the rhythm. Speaking about rhythm, it took me a little bit at the start of the session to get back into the rhythm of qualifying. But also that put me in a position where I had to use 1 extra set during the whole session, which compromised a little bit Q3 because definitely the step between used and new was quite big. So yeah, overall still P6. Obviously, I wanted to finish a bit higher in the ranks, but at the same time, there's a long race tomorrow.
Yeah, what can you do in the race tomorrow? We're looking at most likely a 2-stop race tomorrow and different strategies on offer. Is that your best opportunity tomorrow, or do you think you've got the pace to actually get up there to the podium?
Well, hopefully tomorrow we'll have a good pace. Definitely it's going to be a 2-stop because deck, and especially with the temperature of tomorrow, it's going to be really, really hot and difficult to manage on the tires. So definitely, we'll see with the strategy what we can do. But it's going to be important as well, maybe with the seat pistol to have some free air, and in order to also try to cure the tire the best way as possible, in order to have them in a better state later in the stint.
Well done. Thank you.
She asked him for the podium, but he ignored it completely because he is realistic on his goals. For an 18-year-old, he is so mature and with his feet on the ground. Keep doing the good works, and little by little, he will be faster than George.
Rules of engagement tomorrow.
Oh, well, you heard Andrea's words that there are no rules of engagement. They trust their drivers. They trust their drivers to follow the FIA rules of engagement.
And you think that that's a dangerous thing?
Yeah, of course. Even if you say maybe that, okay, is not going to influence too much a certain battle tomorrow, but even then, in hindsight, it just helps you so much. Because then as a team, you can say, look, this is the rules we've agreed to, very clearly, in detail, and Oscar, here, you are at fault because, or Lando, yeah, and you can then make it very clear afterwards, because otherwise it's all this negative spiral that if you have ambiguity and gray areas, and it just spirals out of control, and you really want to avoid that at all costs, because it's not something you can reverse very easily when it happens.
Because it did like the touch paper. You've admitted it in the past, didn't it, in 2016? Where they're coming together here, it kicked things off for the season, as far as your competitiveness with Lewis was concerned.
Everything was already out of control by then, so that just gave it another spin.
Do you think it's McLaren's to lose, right?
Yeah, it is. So they need to get everything nicely in line. They need to be 1-2 out of the first corner, and then they need to be very careful with their strategy to not undercut one driver over the other and really keep control of the entire race.
Can't wait.
I love it when Nico Rosberg is on race weekend, so that's it. I hope you like the format and the video in general. See you tomorrow for the race show.